In the bustling town of Karibu, with a scent of roasted maize mixed with the sweet perfume of hibiscus flowers, life moved to the rhythm of talking drums and the laughter of children. The marketplace stretched like a colorful tapestry. Women in vibrant Ankara prints haggled over tomatoes and yams, while men carved intricate wooden masks under the shade of ancient baobab trees. This was a place where tradition danced with modernity, where mud brick houses stood alongside painted storefronts, and where everyone knew everyone's name. Among the many young women of Karibu lived Amara, a 23-year-old seamstress with dreams as bright as the golden sun that blessed their land. Amara had skin the color of rich mahogany, eyes that sparkled with hope, and hands that could transform simple cloth into garments of beauty. She lived in a modest home with her grandmother, Mama Kasi, a woman whose wisdom was as deep as the ancient rivers. Amara had been saving her coins for 6 moons, every copper piece earned from hemming wrappers and sewing wedding garments, all for one special purpose. Her cousin's wedding was approaching, and Amara wanted to look radiant. She wanted her hair to tell a story of elegance and grace. "Grandmother," Amara said one evening as they sat by the fire, pounding fufu in the wooden mortar, "I have finally saved enough money to visit Madame Zera's salon." Mama Kessie's weathered hands paused mid-motion. Her eyes, clouded with the milk of age but still sharp with perception, studied her granddaughter carefully. "Madame Zera," the old woman repeated slowly, as if tasting something bitter, "the one they call the Golden Fingers." "Yes, grandmother. Everyone says she can make hair grow like the vines of the forest, make it shine like the midnight sky filled with stars. They say she has traveled to the lands beyond the great waters and learned secrets unknown to our people." Mama Kessie set down the pestle and reached for Amara's hand. "My child, I have lived through many rainy seasons, and I have learned this truth. When something glitters too brightly, it often blinds us to the shadows it casts. Be careful of those who promise the moon but deliver only darkness." But Amara, with the confidence of youth and the excitement of anticipated beauty, laughed gently. "Grandmother, you worry too much. Madame Zara is famous throughout Karibu. Even the chief's daughters visit her salon. What harm could come from beautiful hair?" The old woman sighed, a sound like wind through dry grass. "Remember, child, the python does not show its true nature until it has wrapped itself around your neck. Go if you must, but keep your eyes open and your wisdom close." Madame Zara's beauty palace stood on the main road like a painted dream. The building was the color of sunset orange and gold, with mirrors that caught the light and threw it back in dazzling rays. A large sign hung above the door, proclaiming proudly, "Madame Zara, where ordinary women become queens." Inside, the salon hummed with activity. Hairdryers roared like mechanical lions. Chemical treatments filled the air with sharp, foreign scents. And everywhere there were photographs of women with hair piled high, flowing long, or styled in elaborate patterns that defied nature itself. Madame Zara emerged from the back room like a queen greeting her subjects. She was a woman of perhaps 40 years, though she dressed to appear younger. Her own hair, a magnificent cascade of perfectly straight locks that swayed when she moved, was rumored to be enhanced by her mysterious treatments. She wore expensive fabrics from distant lands, gold bangles that sang on her wrists, and a smile that seemed warm but never quite reached her calculating eyes. "Welcome, welcome, my dear," Zara exclaimed, embracing Amara with practiced affection. "I can see you are a woman of refined taste. Come, sit. Let me examine what we have to work with." Amara sat in the plush chair, feeling like royalty as Zara ran her fingers through her natural coils with an expression of exaggerated concern. "Oh, my dear child," Zara said, shaking her head slowly. "Your hair has so much potential, but it needs help. Real help. The traditional methods our mothers used coconut oil, shea butter, patience. Those are for simple village life. But you want to shine at this wedding?" "Yes." Amara nodded eagerly. "I have saved everything I could, Madame Zara. I want to look beautiful." Zara's eyes glinted like a hawk spotting prey. "Beautiful? My dear, I will make you unforgettable. I have just received a new treatment from the lands across the ocean. It is called Miracle Hair Renaissance. One treatment, and your hair will transform completely longer, silkier, more manageable. You will look like the women in magazines, like the actresses on television." "How much does this treatment cost?" Amara asked, her voice trembling with hope and uncertainty. Zara waved her hand dismissively. "For a special young woman like you, preparing for such an important occasion, I will offer a discount, usually 500 cities, but for you, only 350. Amara's heart sank. She had saved exactly 280. Madam, I don't have that much. I only have She, Zara interrupted, her voice dripping with false sympathy. I understand completely. Tell you what you pay, what you have now, and you can pay the rest in installments after the wedding. How can I let you go to your cousin's celebration looking ordinary when I have the power to make you extraordinary? It would be a sin. Amara hesitated. Something in Mama Kessie's warning echoed in her mind like a distant drum, but then she looked at the photographs on the wall, at the other women in the salon who looked so confident and beautiful, at Madame Zara's own magnificent hair. Surely this was an opportunity, a blessing. Yes, Amara said finally. Yes, let us do it. Madame Zara clapped her hands together. Excellent. You will not regret this, my dear. Now, this treatment is very powerful, very special. There may be some tingling, some warmth on your scalp. This is not. It means the formula is working, penetrating deep into the roots, awakening the dormant beauty within. She disappeared into the back room and returned with a large bowl containing a thick, cream-colored paste that smelled sharply of chemicals and something else Amara couldn't identify. As Zara began applying the mixture to Amara's scalp with gloved hands, she continued her sales pitch. You know, I was once like you, a simple girl with simple dreams. I worked in my mother's kitchen, braiding hair for a few coins. But then I learned that in this world, you must take what you want. I traveled, I studied, I discovered secrets. Now look, me. I have this palace, I have customers from 3 villages, I have money in the bank, and do you know why? Amara, feeling the paste beginning to warm on her scalp, whispered. Why? Because I understood that people will pay for transformation. They will pay for the promise of being better, more beautiful, more worthy of attention, and I give them what they want. The warmth on Amara's scalp was growing stronger now, moving from pleasant to uncomfortable. Madame Zara, it's getting very hot. That's perfect. That means it's working. Just endure for 30 more minutes, and you'll see results that will make you weep with joy. But as the minutes passed, the heat transformed into burning. Amara gripped the arms of the chair, sweat beading on her forehead. Madam, please, it hurts terribly. Zara checked her watch, her expression betraying a flicker of concern that she quickly masked. Just 10 more minutes. Dear, beauty requires sacrifice. No! Amara stood suddenly, tears streaming down her face. It's burning. Please, wash it out now. Finally, Zara rushed her to the washing basin, but even as the water ran over Amara's scalp, she could feel something was terribly wrong. When Zara finally dried her hair and Amara looked in the mirror, her scream echoed through the salon. Her beautiful natural coils were gone. In their place were broken, damaged patches. Some areas showed angry red scalp, blistered and raw. Other sections had hair that broke off at the slightest touch, falling like dead leaves to the floor. What have you done to me? Amara cried, her hands trembling as she touched her ruined hair. Madame Zora's expression transformed instantly from concern to cold defensiveness. This is not my fault. You must have been allergic to the treatment. Did you tell me about any allergies? No. You hid this information from me. Or perhaps you used other chemicals in your hair before coming here. Did you? No, I only used natural oils like my grandmother taught me. Well, something in your hair reacted badly. These things happen. I cannot be held responsible for your body's reaction. Zara crossed her arms. And by the way, you still owe me 70 cities for the treatment. Amara stared at her in disbelief. You want me to pay for this? You've ruined my hair, burned my scalp, and you want payment. I provided a service. You agreed to the treatment. Business is business, my dear. Other customers in the salon watched in uncomfortable silence. Some looked away, not wanting to get involved. One older woman whispered to her companion, I heard this happen to another girl 2 months ago. Amara stumbled out of the salon, a scarf hastily wrapped around her damaged head, her heart broken and her spirit crushed. She had trusted, and she had been betrayed. The walk home felt like a journey through shame. Beapo isterge. Children pointed. By the time she reached her grandmother's door, Amara was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Mama Kessie opened the door, took one look at her granddaughter, and pulled her inside with gentle strength. After Amara removed the scarf and revealed the damage, the old woman's face hardened into an expression of controlled fury. Tell me everything, child, she commanded softly. Through tears and hiccups, Amara recounted the entire story. When she finished, Mama Kessie was silent for a long moment, her fingers drumming on the wooden armrest of her chair. "So, the python has shown its true nature," she said finally. "Now we must decide what to do about it." "What can I do, grandmother? She's powerful. She's wealthy. She has many customers. Who will believe me over her? Perhaps more people than you think, child. But first, you must heal both your head and your heart. Then we will seek justice." In our tradition, when someone wrongs the community must respond. Madame Zara's greed has consequences, and she will learn this lesson. Over the next 3 days, as Mama Kessie applied healing herbs to Amara's scalp, the young woman wrestled with shame and anger. She felt foolish for not listening to her grandmother's warning. She felt violated by Zara's deception. She felt ugly looking at her damaged reflection. On the 4th day, her best friend Thandio came to visit. When she saw Amara's condition, she gasped and sat down heavily. "Sister of my heart, what has happened to you?" Amara told her story again, and Thandio's face grew dark with recognition. "Amara, you are not the first. My cousin's friend Nala went to Madame Zara 3 moons ago for a similar treatment. Her hair fell out in chunks, and before that, there was a woman named Femi who suffered chemical burns. But both of them were too ashamed to speak publicly. They paid Madame Zara to keep quiet about what happened. She made them pay for her mistakes." Amara's voice rose in outrage. "Yes. She told them if they spoke against her, she would ruin their reputations. Call them liars. Say they were trying to destroy a successful businesswoman out of jealousy." Amara looked at her grandmother. "Then we must find these women. If we stand together, our voices will be stronger than hers." Mama Kessie nodded slowly. "Yes, but we must be wise about this. Madame Zara has money and influence. She donates to the chief's projects. She sponsors community events. Many people benefit from her success and will not want to see her fall. We need to approach this carefully." The old woman stood and retrieved a carved wooden staff from the corner of the room. "Tomorrow, we will visit the Council of Elders. It is time for the wisdom of the ancestors to judge this matter." That night, Amara barely slept. She was afraid of confrontation, afraid of being called a liar, afraid of failing. But she was also angry, and that anger was beginning to burn brighter than her fear. The next morning, dressed in simple but dignified clothing with her damaged head covered by a beautiful wrapper her grandmother had saved from her own youth, Amara walked to the great meeting tree where the Council of Elders convened. Mama Kessie walked beside her, a stuffing hunter presence lending Amara courage. The council consisted of 7 elders, 4 men, and 3 women who had guided Caribou through droughts and celebrations, conflicts and reconciliations. They sat in a semicircle on carved wooden stools beneath the ancient baobab tree that had witnessed generations of justice. Chief Elder Kwama, a man whose beard was as white as clouds and whose eyes missed nothing, gestured for them to approach. "Mama Kessie, daughter of the old ways, you honor us with your presence. What brings you before the council?" Mama Kessie bowed respectfully. "Honored elders, I bring my granddaughter Amara, who has suffered a great wrong. We seek the wisdom of this council and the justice of our ancestors." "Speak, young woman," said Elder Afia, one of the women whose own hair was wrapped in traditional style. "Tell us your story and speak truthfully, for the ancestors are listening." Amara's voice shook at first, but as she told her story showing her damaged scalp, explaining the deception, revealing the chemical burns, her voice grew stronger. When she finished, the council sat in contemplative silence. Elder Kofi, known for his directness, spoke first. "This is a serious accusation against Madame Zara. She is a respected businesswoman who contributes much to our community." Respected? Mama Kessie's voice cut through the air like a blade, or feared. "There is a difference, elders. Respect is earned through integrity. Fear is gained through power and manipulation. We must hear from Madame Zara herself." Elder Kwame declared. "She deserves the opportunity to defend herself. We will summon her here tomorrow at the same hour. Until then, say nothing of this matter to anyone outside your family." As Amara and her grandmother left, they were unaware that word was already spreading through Caribou like wildfire. By evening, everyone knew that Mama Kessie had brought a complaint against the famous hair. The town divided into factions, some supporting Amara, others defending Zara. That night, Amara received visitors. First came Nala, the young woman Thandio had mentioned. She was thin and nervous, wearing a wig to hide her own damaged hair. "I heard what you did today," Nala said, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to support you, but I'm afraid. Madame Zara threatened me. She said if I ever spoke about what happened, she would tell everyone I was a prostitute trying to destroy her business. Amara took her hands. Sister, I'm afraid too, but our fear is exactly what allows her to continue hurting people. If we stand together, you don't understand. Nala pulled away. My family depends on the goodwill of the community. If Madame Zara ruins my reputation, my younger sisters will suffer. I cannot risk it. I'm sorry. She left quickly, and Amara felt her courage waver. But then another knock came at the door. It was Femi, a woman of about 30, with kind eyes and a determined expression. Unlike Nala, she wore her damaged hair uncovered, the patches and scars visible for all to see. I heard you're taking on the python, Femi said, using Mama Kisi's metaphor. I'm with you. I've lived in shame for 6 months, hiding my head, avoiding gatherings. I'm tired of giving Madame Zara power over my life. Whatever happens tomorrow, I will stand beside you and tell my truth. Amara embraced her, tears of gratitude flowing freely. Before dawn, the next morning, more women began arriving at Mama Kisi's home. 7 in total, each with her own story of damage caused by Madame Zara's greed and experimental treatments. Some had minor damage, others bore scars that would last a lifetime. Together, they walked to the great tree where a large crowd had already gathered. Madame Zara arrived in a new cloth of expensive silk, her hair styled elaborately, her expression one of wounded innocence. She had brought supporters to several successful business people who praised her contributions to the community. Honored elders, Zara began, her voice sweet as honey, I am shocked and hurt by these accusations. I have dedicated my life to making the women of Caribou beautiful. Yes, occasionally there are complications. This is the nature of beauty treatments, but I always act in good faith. This girl, Amara, was warned about potential reactions. She chose to proceed. Now she regrets her decision and seeks to blame me for her own choices. She turned to face Amara directly. I sympathize with your situation. Truly, I do. But I will not allow you to destroy my reputation because you experienced an unfortunate allergic reaction. Elder Afia raised her hand for silence. Are there others who have experienced similar problems? One by one, these 7 women stepped forward. As each told her story, the crowd's murmur grew louder. The pattern was undeniable, the same promises, the same pressure tactics, the same denials of responsibility. Madame Zara's composure began to crack. These women are lying. They're jealous of my success. In every business, there are those who seek to tear down those who have risen above enough. Elder Kwam's voice thundered across the gathering. We have heard enough lies. 8 women with identical stories of deception and harm. 8 women with physical evidence of damage. The pattern speaks for itself. But my contributions to the community, Zara began desperately. Blood money, Mama Kessie interrupted. Money earned by harming our daughters cannot purify itself through donations. The ancestors teach us that wealth without integrity is like a tree with rotten roots. It will eventually fall. The council conferred quietly among themselves. Finally, Elder Kwame stood. Madame Zara, the council finds that you have violated the sacred trust between service provider and customer. You have prioritized profit over people's well-being. You have used experimental treatments without proper knowledge or care for consequences. You have attempted to silence your victims through intimidation and threats. Therefore, we decree the following. First, your salon will be closed immediately until you can prove that all your treatments are safe and properly tested. Second, you will compensate each of these women for their medical treatment and suffering. Third, you will make a public apology before this entire community. And fourth, you will undergo a period of community service, working without payment to help those in need, so that you may relearn the values of service and humility. Madame Zara's face turned ashen. You cannot do this. I will take this to the government authorities. You are free to do so, Elder Rafia said calmly, and when you do, we will ensure those authorities also hear about your unlicensed experimental treatments, your intimidation of witnesses, and your violations of safety regulations. The choice is yours. The proud woman who had entered with confidence now stood deflated, her empire crumbling around her. She looked at the faces surrounding her, some satisfied, some pitying, all watchful, and finally, her shoulders sagged in defeat. The weeks that followed brought transformation to Madame Zara's salon remained closed, its bright facade fading like a forgotten dream. The women she had harmed received compensation and medical treatment. More importantly, they received something money couldn't buy: community support and the restoration of their dignity. Amara's hair slowly grew back, though it would never be exactly as it was before. But something else had grown to her confidence, her wisdom, and her understanding of true beauty. On the day of her cousin's wedding, Amara appeared not with elaborate styling, but with her natural hair wrapped in traditional fashion, the style of her grandmother's. She was radiant, not because of artifice, but because she carried herself with the dignity of someone who had faced injustice and prevailed. During the celebration, Mama Kessie pulled her granddaughter aside. "You have learned an important lesson, child. The world is full of people who will promise you everything while planning to take everything. But you have also learned that you are not alone. When we stand together, when we speak truth, when we refuse to be silenced by shame or fear, we become stronger than any python that seeks to crush us." As the sun set over Caribou, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold, the village gathered for the traditional evening storytelling. An elder stood before the fire and began, "Let me tell you about the greedy stylist who ruined everything, ... And so the tale became part of the village's wisdom, passed from generation to generation, a warning about the dangers of greed, the importance of community, and the power of truth. Amara listened to her own story being transformed into legend, and she smiled. She had become more than a victim. She had become a lesson, a warning, and an inspiration. And that, she realized, was a different kind of beauty altogether, one that no treatment could give and no deception could take away. Did this story touch your heart? Did Amara's journey inspire you? Like the village of Caribou that grew stronger by sharing wisdom, we too can build a community of storytelling and learning. If you enjoyed The Greedy Stylist Who Ruined Everything, please, this story, your support helps us share more African folktales and wisdom with the world. Subscribe to our channel, join our growing family of story lovers, and never miss new tales of wisdom, courage, and traditional values. Share your thoughts, comment below, and tell us, what lesson did you take from Amara's story? Have you ever faced a similar situation of deception? Which character inspired you the most? What African folktale would you like to hear next? Share this story. Help us spread these important lessons to your friends, family, and community. Let's keep the tradition of storytelling alive. Join the conversation. Tag someone who needs to hear this message about integrity, community, and the dangers of greed. Remember, like Mama Kessie always says, when we share our stories, we light torches for others walking in darkness. Be a torchbearer, like, subscribe, and share. Together, we keep the wisdom of our ancestors alive for the next generation.